right. Well, it's good to be back at home again after 2 road games. 2 really big games for us, obviously, this week, hosting Kansas State and hosting in-state rival Drake, who just beat Iowa State this week. But Kansas State, kind of gives us some bad memories from last year. We had the 1-point loss at their place. It was a situation where, we had a lead and we kind of let it escape us, and they got to the free throw line a lot with that. So we're anxious to play them again. But it is a very good team, obviously. And, last year, Ayoka Lee was out with an injury, a knee injury, and so she's back, and that makes a big difference for this team. I mean, she's almost 6'7". She's probably one of the tallest posts that we'll go against all year long, and we have to be ready for her. And they also have some decent three-point shooters that open things up for her. So Kansas State, good team, receiving votes in both polls, and we know we'll have a battle on our hands.
Sydney, what's with your rebounding right now? You're leading the team in rebounding. You had 14 against Virginia Tech. Have you been such a monster on the boards?
Yeah, I think that was really an emphasis this year, and with McKenna and Monica leaving, I knew that was going to be really important within my role, so I just want to take advantage of that whenever I'm on the floor, and I just think rebounding is just a lot about hustle, just get in, get after it, so.
When you have a player like Kaylin, and even if you didn't, how important is it extending those possessions with offensive rebounds and getting her the ball back and being able to operate that way?
Yeah, I think we always talk about extra possessions, and getting offensive rebounds is the way to do that, and Caitlin's going to take a lot of shots, and I think we all know a lot of them go in, but the off chance that it doesn't, I want to be there to get the rebound and have an extra chance to get another 2 or 3 point shot.
What do you guys remember about the Kansas State game? Kylie, obviously you didn't get to play last year, but what do you guys remember about last year's Kansas State game?
I remember they had some really good guards. Gabby Gregory, she's really phenomenal. So I think that'll be really important for us to shut her down this year. She drew a lot of fouls on us last year. So I think make sure we get after it defensively and be careful fouling-wise. But I think, like Coach said, Ayoka Lee, she's a great post, and guarding her and getting box outs, rebounds is really important for this game.
Kylie, how much comfortable do you feel even, 3 games ago, just coming back and getting in the flow of things?
Yeah, I think going back into it, it's like a work in progress. You kind of have to get in the flow of things and get comfortable again. But I'd say even just within the past 3 games, I've just felt more and more comfortable and just kind of knowing what I need to do in whatever game. And it feels good to be back on the floor. But obviously, like I said, it's a work in progress. But
how did that feel there at Virginia Tech, that one quarter where you just sort of took over for?
Yeah, it's one of those where I think I kind of black out. I just I'm in the zone kind of, so I don't remember it too much. But it felt really good. I think looking back at it, it was nice to know that I kind of was able to come back from where I kind of left. But yeah, it was just a really exciting game, and I was happy to do whatever I needed to with our team, and we had some people in foul trouble, so just being able to kind of maximize on whatever when they were able to be on the floor.
Did you have a sense of confidence, I am back?
Yeah, I think when Coach Bluter called one of our plays, and then when she called it again, that was kind of when I got that momentum, and after that and one foul, that was kind of when I started to feel really into the flow of things.
Sydney, we've talked about the November stretch that you guys have and how it's tough, and you guys have really jumped right into it. How much has that helped keep everybody locked in? On top of, what you guys already have as expectations, just the fact that, it seems like it's one good team after another here to start.
Yeah, I think we have a long stretch coming up, a lot of tough games with Kansas State Thursday and Drake Sunday. They're both really great teams, and I just think we always talk about taking it one game at a time. We're not looking at the end destination. We're working on the journey and the process, and I think that's really important for us. After one game, we move on, win or lose. We got to move on to the next game.
Sid, what do you think about when you guys are on offense and you're sort of roaming around and everything, and then all of a sudden the shot goes up? What's your first instinct? Go get
Rebound.
it.
Go get it, yeah. I think that I'm going to be the first one to the ball every single time, and I think having that mentality helps a lot with rebounding. I don't think anyone else is going to get it but me. So.
Were you noted as a rebounder in high school?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, definitely.
Obviously, you aren't thinking about your rebounds during the game, like how many do I have, but did you know you were in double digits, or was it after the game they're like, oh wow, I had 14 rebounds?
It was after the game. I'm just trying to focus on getting the ball and get possessions, especially with like Kylie on Virginia Tech. She's big center, so I knew getting rebounds against her was really important.
So you've gone against Kitley, you'll go against Holmes later. You've got Lee. How does she rank? How does she fit among the best posts you're going to see all year?
Well, I haven't gotten to play against her yet, but just watching film, she's a 6'6" post. She's really big, and I think she might have been an All-American the year before. But I think they're all really great posts, and with that, sometimes we play a little bit smaller with Hannah at the 5, and it's really important for all of us to focus on rebounding because we don't have that height sometimes.
Does she remind you of anybody, Lee? She's kind of a big, strong.
How do you put that in writing, Susan?
I don't have to transcribe.
No one particularly comes to mind.
So it'll be different.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm excited to play against her. She wasn't there last year with an ACL injury, so it'll be fun.
Kylie, as a guard for you guys' entire group, I know you're not going to be down in the post with her, but what can you guys do to kind of help out throughout the game on Lee?
Yeah, I think with our game plan, our coaches do a great job at kind of scouting and knowing when we need to do things. So, kind of getting into the post whenever we need to, like helping on her. Like we said, they have great guards, though, so kind of being strategic about all of that. But being able to help in is going to be crucial whenever we can.
Do you look at their guards as being sort of interchangeable? They've got a number of kids that can do a lot of things. But Gabby Gregory, I know, was mentioned. Anybody in particular that you really got to kick off the three-point line?
Yeah, their point guard is a really quick driver. She can shoot as well. She's really athletic. And they also play a ton of people, so that just shows kind of their depth in their guard area specifically. And I think they all can do a little bit of everything. Gregory's, like you said, a great player. She's going to do a lot for them, but they definitely have a lot of weapons.
Thanks, Kylie. That's it.
Thanks, you guys.
Thank you.
There's been, obviously Molly and Sharon have started in that last spot. Is that something you see kind of continuing through this year, that fifth starter's just going to maybe be matchup or just opponent-based, or are you looking to find somebody to kind of lock down that spot?
Usually I've been somebody that really locks down a spot, but I don't think this is a team that will need to do that or has to do that. I think they're mature enough that we can move that around depending on the matchup that we're playing.
You mentioned that you guys are kind of anxious to play Kansas State again. Are you the type of coach that brings up the loss last year as an extra motivating factor? Is that kind of just on the players to do that themselves?
I will bring it up. I don't dwell on it, though. I don't hammer it, because I also want them, I don't want them to remember a negative thing about Kansas State. I want to use it as motivation, but not to hurt their confidence.
So how do you defend Aoka?
Well, I think that we're pretty quick, and I think that is a strength of ours over her. But yeah, she's a tremendous player. She has the NCAA record for most points scored in a game at 61. That's amazing. So we can't let her have 61 in Carver for sure.
Does she look like she's regained her mobility from 2 years ago? Does she look like she did 2 years ago?
I would say not completely, but Jeff would probably answer that a lot better than I could. But I don't know that, in my opinion, she has.
Within this, tough start to the season, there's obviously been big post challenges for your group. How much does that help accelerate their growth even more, getting these big tests right out of the gate?
Yeah, we have had, good tests, and we're going to continue to have, like you mentioned, Holmes, and, in the Big Ten Conference, there's several good post players that we have to go against. So, I think this is a great experience for us. And obviously, if you play against somebody like an Ayoka that's different than what you might see, that helps prepare you for the NCAA tournament too, where you're going to see a variety of different styles of play.
Is there anything you're emphasizing in practice this week that maybe didn't go well in last year's matchup that you feel like needs to go well tomorrow?
I really feel like last year they drew so many fouls. Gregory drew 13 fouls on us, and that was a huge difference. She had 24 points against us, and not letting her, have that opportunity to draw fouls and put people on the bench. To me, that was, that's critical. And to keep pushing on them. I think we slowed it down a little bit too early last year, and that's my fault.
Through 3 games, Caitlin's got 27 assists and 4 turnovers. How tickled are you with that?
That's remarkable. I did not know that, Jeff. That is a remarkable statistic. Wow. She's showing.
Has she taken, has she gone to another level with that as far as her, where she's going with the ball, just judgment, anything like that?
Yeah, I hope so. It's something that we talked about in the last season, is that's an area, you're always trying to find areas you can improve. Even if you're the National Player of the Year, you want to find areas to improve. And that was one of the areas that we thought she could make a little bit of improvement on. And, it's early, so you never know. And sometimes turnovers comes in bunches. But certainly, against some pretty good competition and in good hostile environments, she's been able to, handle it. That's a remarkable statistic.
I know this team has obviously plenty of experience handling success and when it comes during the season and all that. But after an eventful first week for a lot of good reasons, how strong is this team's ability to take things in stride and enjoy them, but know that there's bigger things up ahead?
I think really good. I think our team does a really good job of enjoying a win and not dwelling on it. Fortunately, we haven't had to go the other way yet this year, but, I'm hoping that they'll bounce back, when we have a loss too. You have to approach it the same way every time, and I think that they're mature enough and they do that.
What makes Sid a good rebounder for her size?
Who, Sid?
Yeah.
She's got a tenacity. It's kind of like Kasheen Alexander. I don't know, you remember Kasheen. She was, I think, the best rebounding guard in the country, when she played for us. But Sid's kind of the same way. She just has that tenacity that I'm going to go get the ball. And it sounds so easy, but it really is a mindset, an aggressive mindset to go get it.
Did you see that when you were recruiting her?
We like that about Sid. I mean, Sid was just somebody that she's not afraid to be physical. She'll do the dirty work when it needs to be done. But she's also obviously a skilled basketball player.
Kansas State liked to shoot a lot of three-pointers last year. Not necessarily the highest percentage of makes, but last year they had, I think, that one girl that made 6 of 10. She hadn't been shooting well. They're 10 of 40 to start this season. It's the same kind of message that, hey, they weren't shooting it well last year, but they had someone do the same thing. We've got to defend it anyway.
Yeah, I mean, they had, and I can't remember her name right now, the center that came in and made 6 threes, and it was her best game of the entire year. As far as outside shooting. And so, sometimes those things happen to you. But, yeah, I mean, you always have to be ready for that, make game adjustments when it's happening to you. But she certainly hurt us last year with her threes.
I know there's no way to predict this, but given how much of a target is on your guys' back, do you expect to have more situations like that this year where somebody, isn't necessarily playing well, but then they come in against you guys and put on a show or something like that?
I think that can happen anytime with any team, regardless of what your ranking is. I just, especially early in the season, right? Nobody knows what they've done over the summer. Nobody knows the work that they've put in and how they've changed their game. And so I think, the non-conference season really has a lot of those kind of surprises because, nobody really knows what to expect.
How excited are you to get back into Carver after an away stretch?
Yeah, it's just fun to play in Carver. I mean, first of all, you don't have to travel, which is really nice. And we got home at 2:30 in the morning after the Virginia Tech game, and so that can be draining on you. And so I'm glad to play in Carver, especially having to play Drake again the following the Sunday. But just to play in front of our fans. It's so fun to come out into Carver and to see the excitement and the joy that we're bringing to this group of fans. So that's pretty special.
Do you think there will be a pretty good atmosphere, especially for the Drake game, considering it's in-state?
I think both of these games will have good atmosphere. I think everybody has respect for Kansas State, again, receiving votes in both polls from the Big 12 Conference. We lost to them last year. And then Drake, of course, in-state rival, just beat Iowa State. Very experienced basketball team. So I think we're going to have good atmosphere for both of these games.
Hannah Stolke's leading the team in points per minute, if that's something that sounds important, I guess. But she hasn't really been on the floor a lot the last 2 games. I think 8 fouls in the last 2 games. How important is it for her to kind of clean that up? Because when she's on, she had 16 points in like 11 minutes on Sunday.
Yeah. Oops, somebody's got a call coming in. It's like in class when that happens to you, right? No, it's okay. So, Hannah had a little bit of foul trouble, and obviously she would have played more had we needed her to play more in the UNI game, but at that point, I just didn't feel like in the fourth quarter we needed to use her. Might as well save her and that sort of thing. So, yeah, she needs to stay out of foul trouble. I'm telling you, Virginia Tech, though, her last foul for sure was, I thought it was on Caitlin for sure, and maybe Caitlin needed to stick her hand up in the air and claim it, but I don't even know where that one came from.
Just preliminary scouting on Drake. You probably haven't seen a lot on him yet, but just from what you have seen, what do you see?
Yeah, Graceburg, she's been around, 6 years now. Somebody we know pretty well, experienced post player, agile, athletic, very different than Ioka Lee that we're playing this week. But yeah, I know they had a really good shooting performance from one of their players that typically hadn't. So there's an example of that, Dargan, like where somebody steps up that you kind of hadn't expected. They weren't doing that last year. I haven't seen them play yet, but obviously anytime you beat Iowa State, it's going to really open up everybody's eyes to how good this team is.
I think Caitlin played 31 minutes against UNI, coming off of 40 against Virginia Tech. How important, obviously knowing if it's going to be a close game, she's going to be on the floor, but how important is it to kind of get those little breaks here and there for her, knowing that, she's going to have a lot on her plate the whole way?
Yeah, but that's what she wants it. That's the way she wants to be on the floor. I think she gets antsy when she's on the bench, even if she knows it's for a well-deserved rest. But we have to give her those times when we can. Some games we're not going to be able to. She's valuable, obviously, to have on the floor. We need to have her on the floor. She'll be there in every pressure moment that we have. But when we can give her a rest, we're certainly going to try to do that.
You say she gets antsy on the bench. Does she ever say, hey, get me in, I need to be in there? Or...
She probably does. I don't listen to it. I try to block her out sometimes. It's like the horse with the, what are those called on? Blinders on.
Shaking her hand at some point in UNI, and she came out, and the trainer looked at her, and she went back into the game, and she just banged it against something.
She told me just a stinger. Is that a football term?
Yeah.
Her brother played football, so maybe that's where she gets that. She played football, so yeah, she had a stinger.
So such a big player on tomorrow night, I guess, and Hannah's starting to stretch the floor a little bit. Is that going to be important with her quicker first step, driving to the rim, getting around a big player?
Absolutely, I think so.
What have you seen from Hannah? Obviously, I said that she hasn't played a lot of minutes the last couple of games, but when she has been putting a lot of points on the board in a short span, is that just kind of what she does? She goes out there and creates a spark offensively?
I just think Hannah is such a good player, and she's different than Monica, but she reminds me of Naz Hillman a lot from Michigan, because she can rebound so well. She's got great speed, probably quicker than Naz even. I just love her game. I love to watch her play, and I just think we're going to see an incredible season from Hannah in every regard.
Thanks, Coach.
Thanks, you
Appreciate it.
guys.